Good afternoon. It is 1:45 in the afternoon on Monday the 19th of October 2020. I have had a couple of days away. I have recorded a video while I was away regarding student visas. I'm going to post that to the end of this video. However, I just wanted to make a quick note first regarding an email we just received from Immigration New Zealand. This is in relation to skilled migrant category and parent category visa applications. Those where you put the application into the pool and they get drawn out. Those applications have been deferred another 6 months. So those entering the pool for a draw for an EOI for skilled migrant, you will not be having those draws taking place until April 2021 at the earliest, at which point they will review the situation again. We know that's disappointing to a number of you, but that is the situation that immigration have now put in place. At least there is some clarity there, rather than the uncertainty we've had in the past 6 months. In the meantime, make sure that if you are one of those people looking to do a skilled migrant application for residency, make sure you maintain your right to remain in the country lawfully and your right to work lawfully, as you will need to have that employment to go for the skilled migrant application. And that is it that's all we've got now for that situation. Oh, one I've mentioned, the parent category, of course, was the category that was put on hold several years ago. It was supposed to start again earlier this year with those rather large salary requirements for the sponsors. That never took place. Supposed to start sort of February, March. COVID put an end to that, and that's also been delayed until at least April next year. We will keep you up to date on any changes there, but we don't expect any more changes now the announcement's been made until next year. So as I said, make sure that your right to remain in New Zealand continues. Otherwise, we'll now go to my video from Saturday relating to student visas. Good morning. It is just before 8 AM on October the 17th. It's a Saturday and it is election day. So today it's a day that New Zealanders go to the polls to decide who's going to run the government for the next 3 years. My name is Arran Hunt, of course. I'm a partner at Stace Hammond and I head up the Migration Partners team. And this, as always, is not legal advice. Don't take it as being legal advice. This is merely just our review of what's going on with immigration to hopefully keep you in the know as to the changes as they come, maybe before they come. Now we're coming to you today from the shore of Lake Tekapo, trying to just get out of the way there so you can see what I'm talking about. It is a stunning, beautiful place. Lake Tekapo has one of the world's only 5 sort of dark sky sites where you can go and look at stars. And so I enjoy looking at stars, photographing stars, and so I'm down here for 2 days just to do that, but I'm heading back to Auckland today. Now, as you will know, this is about student visas. This video is about student visas. If that isn't your thing, if you're not looking for a student visa, or you're not currently on a student visa, or you've had a student visa recently, this might not apply to you. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Now, as you'll know, I'm going to go to my notes that I've taken here. Thank you to Yuan and Olga for giving me their notes from their sitting in on the session with Immigration New Zealand while I was away. Now, as you know, or you may know, the government has just announced 250 PhD students will be able to get a visa to enter New Zealand. Now, these are people who are studying their PhDs and who need to do a practical component. So there's a part to their visa that requires them to do some level of work. Sorry, this bird flying past, making very loud. Now, a PhD student, a colleague of ours who I've spoken to about this, has questions whether there actually are 250 students who will either need to use that visa or will actually be able to, whether there actually are the jobs there for them to do to help do their work. Now, Immigration New Zealand, of course, have also thought about this themselves, and if they don't use it for the PhD, which is the level 10s, they will look at allowing some level 9 master students in the same situation, needing to be in New Zealand to complete their studies due to a work component of their studies, to use up the remaining of those visas. But of course, it's not many visas. 250 is not a lot of visas. Now, these will be handled in the Beijing office, which opened up last month. Now, INZ is aware of the importance of foreign students to New Zealand. However, the border closures is causing a major drop, mostly due to applications being stopped. back in August. Now at the moment there is 7,000 student visa applications in the queue with Immigration New Zealand. Now this may seem like a lot, but generally in every given year we'll have 110, 115, 120,000 students in New Zealand, foreign students in the country. So 7,000 is a very small percentage of that. Now we don't have the numbers that actually of those who are still in New Zealand. There will be some who were here when the border closed and they have remained here, and I'm likely that they're going to stay here because they know it'll be hard to re-enter. But we don't think it's going to be that extra 110,000 missing, which means that there is a massive number of people who can't apply, who are overseas, who want to apply but are unable to due to the applications being stopped in August. Now there was several things that my colleagues did note during the session with Immigration New Zealand. I was going to go through those. Now, many of those people who come to New Zealand with the hope of gaining residence. I think it was 14% of skilled migrant applicants came as students. They generally go through this process. They'll come in here as a student, they'll then go for a post-study work visa, then go on to maybe an essential skills work visa, and then go on to skilled migrant residence, or perhaps a work to residence, or one of those other sorts of those directions. Now, there was a change in the last few years where the post-study work was altered so that it used to be that you'd get a open work visa for a year, then 2 years closed visa. They then changed it to 3 years open visa, but only for those who study above a certain level. So WD 3.1 covers this. So levels 4 through 6, that's NCA levels. In New Zealand, the education system, you go from level 1 to level 10. 1, 2, 3 are generally sort of in high school, 4 plus post high school. So level 4 to 6 and non-bachelor of level 7 qualifications can get 1 year of post-study work visa, and possibly 2 years if you studied outside Auckland and completed the study before the end of 2021. Now this is probably not news to you, but I'm getting to the point as to why I'm mentioning this. Level 7 to 10, of course, level 7 bachelor up to level 10 can get the full 3 years of a post-study work visa. However, each of those NCA qualification levels, when you're going to go for that post-study work visa, there is a requirement of how much time you have spent studying in New Zealand. Some needing 30 weeks, some others needing 60 weeks. Now, I know a lot of people have left the country while they were studying here, and their education provider, such as the university or some sort of tertiary provider, has been providing ongoing education online, remotely, so you can keep studying, which is great for your studies. However, if you've been studying outside New Zealand during the lockdown period, that time does not count towards the time required to get your post-study work visa. So if you for that 30 to 30 weeks, if you need 60 weeks, you cannot count that study time outside New Zealand. That must be time spent studying in New Zealand. Okay, be very clear there. If you were to complete your study during lockdown from outside New Zealand, you may also be unable to apply for a post-study work visa, even if you met the study time in New Zealand. As applications are currently unable to be made from offshore without an exception. Now the requirement for this is basically, so when you're planning out the time to apply for the time to finish your studies, you only have 3 months to apply for a post-study work visa after the end date of your student visa for the program of study. So let's say, that wasn't rain there, let's say that you are doing a 3-year bachelor degree, level 7, you get which makes you eligible for a 3-year post-study work visa. You need to do 60-week study. You've done 30 weeks in the first year, 30 weeks in the second year, you're on your 3rd year now. So you've met the requirement for 60 weeks of study inside New Zealand. But you're now finishing off your bachelor's degree outside the country because you can't get a visa, or your visas, you can't enter the country. Now, when you finished your studies, say your visa actually was expiring at the start of the year, you're applying for a new visa, but the border was closed and your visa wasn't granted because the border was closed. Now, if you finish your studies this year, it will have been more than 3 months since your last visa ended, your last student visa for that study ended. Even though you finished your bachelor's degree this year, the end of this year, you cannot apply for a post-study work visa, both because you can't apply for a visa, the border is closed, not taking applications, but also because it's more than 3 months since your last student visa ended. So if you are completing your study without the visa, you aren't breaking any laws, but you will be more than 3 months outside the last visa. Now for doctoral students, that's 6 months. You have 6 months from the end of your last visa, finish your study, to apply for that post-study work visa. So you may want to sort of try and time that and work out when you'll be completing, when your last visa was. And you may even want to look at possibly, not advising you to do this, it's your choice, possibly delaying the end of your study so you can be in the country, or you can have a visa at the time or a visa within 3 months of that, before that, to allow you to apply for that post-study work visa if that is your intention. Now our staff who were at the INZ session on Thursday got the impression that INZ is processing applications that have already been made. That's 7,000. They are going through them and processing them. However, they are not granting them. Now, I did a video previously on the difference between processing and granting. So they are, from what their suggestions were, it was sort of made, a couple of comments they made, they didn't confirm it, but they didn't deny it. They were sort of suggesting that they are going through those applications already in the queue, they are getting them to the point where they are ready to be granted. But they of course can't grant them because that would be breaking the law to grant a visa that cannot be used. So I think Immigration New Zealand are doing what they can within the boundaries that the larger government, the caucus, are setting for them. Now, the other impression given by ANZ, and I think this was stated by them fairly clearly, is that funds needed to be shown by students to support themselves while they're studying was being reviewed and would likely be increased. They haven't said as to what level, but I think currently the amount of money required to show that you can survive in New Zealand hasn't been updated for a while, and if you are studying in Auckland per se, the amount required just hasn't really met the rising cost of living. So also be look out for that. They almost also may look at, sorry it's very cold here, so just keep my hands in my pockets. They're also looking at probably going to review a history of the source of funds. All the other visas now, when we're showing, well, a number of them, when we're showing funds as a requirement, they will be asking for the source of the funds, wanting to show the funds going through. So we do know that at times there are students who will sort of pass funds around themselves. They'll just show, yep, here's the funds in my account. When they get the visa, pass it to a friend for them to get their visa. Immigration New Zealand is aware that this does take place. I think they are looking at perhaps a way to prevent that, restrict it. Perhaps they need to see where the funds were for the last 6 months or the last year or something along those lines. We'll see what the actual rules are going to be, but we do expect that is something that they may be bringing in from what they were suggesting the other day. And that is it. There was no announcements of new visas yet. Immigration New Zealand, I said, is processing the applications already made, they're just not granting them. And they are aware that the student industry is a massive commodity for New Zealand, and we're going from 117,000 students last year to a couple of thousand, so this year to next year. It's a massive industry, a lot of jobs that we need students back in the country. So I'm sure the government is aware of that, and perhaps after the election, the results will come through tonight. Then you might have a better idea, we'll have a better idea as to which parties are in control and what's going to be going through. Now this video will probably be uploaded after the election, so you may already know the results before I do. But we're thinking it's going to be much the same parties in there now, perhaps with one of the major parties no longer being there. That's a generally anti-immigration party, so that's probably going to be a good thing for all of you. The issue of course is still managed isolation, but we'll see how things go the next few months with the new system they've got in place to pre-register isolation. We may be able to maximise the isolation usage so we don't see 1,000 odd being wasted as we've seen the last few months. Alright, that is it. I have to get on the road to Queenstown. And just one final look of the beautiful scene here, and I will see you guys next time. Kia kaha. Have a great day.